Good evening, and welcome to a special AlienCon virtual event for The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch Season 2. My name is Joe Lassard. I'm one of the executive producers for The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, and I am also going to be your moderator for the evening. I want to just remind everyone that at the conclusion of our panel, we were going to have a 15 minutes Q&A session with all of our panelists. So please make sure to submit all your questions in the chat, and we are ready to go. Skinwalker Ranch, the 512-acre property in northern Utah that for more than a century, several centuries perhaps, it has been the location where every kind of mysterious, disturbing, and frightening phenomena, from UFOs to strange creatures to strange radioactive anomalies to alien encounters, have been reported by the indigenous peoples who talk of the Skinwalker, a shape-shifting entity that may have been the product of a curse perpetrated by the Navajo people on the Ute tribe who they feuded with. Some people think that maybe that's what is to explain all the phenomena on the ranch. Some think that there is some kind of otherworldly connection to a different realm. Some think that it might be from visitors from outer space. Some think that it could be all of those things. We don't know for sure. All we do know is that it is currently being scientifically investigated by a very dedicated team under the leadership of the new owner who bought the ranch in 2016 and is now trying to figure out what is the secret of Skinwalker Ranch. And so without further ado, I'd like to introduce these gentlemen to you, starting with the owner of Skinwalker Ranch, Mr. Brandon Fugel. How you doing, Brandon?
Hey, good to be with you.
Astrophysicist, Dr. Travis Taylor. Travis.
Hey guys, how are y'all?
Ranch Superintendent, Thomas Winterton. Hi, Thomas.
Hey there.
Chief Investigator and Scientist, Eric Bard. How you doing, Eric? And rounding out the team, Head of Security and Safety Protocols, Mr. Brian Arnold, also known as Dragon. How you doing, Dragon?
I'm good, Joe. How are you, man?
Good. It's great to see you guys. It's been a little while. We're working hard on the season, and I can't wait to bring it all to you out there and beyond, starting on May 4th at 10 p.m., immediately following the finale of The Curse of Oak Island. So stay tuned for that. Brandon, I want to start with you. You're an interesting fellow to be in the position you're in. You are a major real estate entrepreneur for, operating out of Salt Lake City and representing the Intermountain West. How does someone of your background and place in this world come to want to buy Skinwalker Ranch and investigate it?
Well, it wasn't anything that I would have anticipated years ago or even imagined. I mean, I was introduced to the opportunity and to the former owner, Mr. Bigelow, out of North Las Vegas, by science advisors that had been involved with a technology venture over a decade ago that I helped invest in and lead. And that in turn led to the introduction to Mr. Bigelow, and he was open to a discussion regarding a joint venture or a potential sale. And that brought us to really April of 2016, when we opened the new chapter in the investigation at Skinwalker Ranch. I think the opportunity to take the most scientifically studied paranormal hotspot on the planet and carry that forward and open a new chapter and really elevate the nature of the scientific investigation was intriguing to me, and has been quite a thrilling experience. We've been excited to bring that to the public and give them.
And Eric, as a confidant of Brandon, I think what's interesting about you guys is that you started as friends, I believe, and yet you're just so diversified in your different skill sets and what you bring to this investigation. Eric, Brandon had originally tapped you as his lead investigator, which you still hold that post today. What was it like for you being brought in on this, and what were your initial perceptions of this place? And then how did that evolve as you got into it?
Joe, initially, I was reluctant even to visit the property. I think the invitation stood for several months before I even visited, saw it with my own eyes. And I'll never forget that first visit. It was, there were a lot of unusual things that happened that day.
Can you just briefly describe? I mean, it's one thing to hear about a place that's got so much lore around it that, I mean, for everyday people, and anyone of sound mind and body, any healthy person, you would think it's easy to be skeptical of such a thing. And you say you experienced stuff the very first day.
That's right. I wasn't expecting it. I came onto the property, and I've related this a few times that we saw things happening with our handheld devices. We saw interference with our technology. We also had several members of that visiting group experiencing disorientation, vertigo, strange sensations in the ears, and we even had a medically troubling event that happened with one of the visitors.
And Thomas Winterton, I mean, it's an interesting segue for me to throw to you, because we all know that you've had a very serious medical episode on the ranch where you were hospitalized just from trying to perform normal ranch duties. I mean, part of this ranch is running it as a ranch, bringing cattle on, keeping the grass down, maintaining the property, maintaining the buildings, maintaining the equipment. As someone who's there to handle the physical plant of the ranch, what was your feeling coming into this kind of a place under those circumstances, and what did you think going in, and how did your take on the whole thing evolve?
Well, to be honest, I mean, I grew up here in the Uinta Basin. I was very familiar with the ranch and the stories that surrounded it. But myself, I didn't believe them. I came onto the ranch thinking that it was just another property. I mean, it's beautiful here, but I didn't buy into it. So I have to say, I probably didn't show the ranch the proper respect. I know it sounds funny, but I came on with the attitude that I was going to do what I needed to do. If we needed to dig, put fence holes or ditches or put a path in for security so they get the UTVs around, I was going to do it. I wasn't hesitant at all. And then, of course, then the injury happened and made me rethink all of that.
And do you think that the ranch targeted you specifically?
Well, there's no definitive proof or evidence of that. But I have to say, after having been here for 5 years, and obviously the head injury is the most serious, but I've had so many experiences here now that it's hard to document them all. And I have to say that at this point, it's hard to feel like it wasn't targeted.
And Dragon, I know that you and Brandon go way back. You guys knew each other when you were, in your late teens, early 20s, right out of high school, I believe is when you guys met. What was it like for you to be asked by your friend, I want you to be in charge of everyone's health and safety out there, and also protect trespassers from getting into trouble?
Yeah, Brandon and I have been good friends for a long, long time. And I thought, what in the world are you doing buying some ranch in the middle of nowhere when you don't so much as own a pair of jeans? And, but you know what, the friendship that we have, I was like, sure, I'll go out there, I'll check it out. And, I didn't know what to expect. He knows that, I have a certain skill set and abilities with, that type of thing. And so, I said, sure, I'll give it a shot. But I went into things thinking it was just patrolling a piece of property to, to keep people off and whatever it is. I had no idea that it had morphed into something of trying to watch over people when you don't know what you're watching out for. Now, granted, there is, the trespasser thing, and we have the normal things with any piece of property in rural Utah where there's, there might be coyotes or there might be, mountain lions, things like that, where that's dangerous. And, and the terrain can be dangerous. But as far as what we've encountered and, the things that I've heard and, now seen, how do you prepare for something like that? So it's daunting, but, I'm okay with it. I enjoy what I do and getting to work with everybody, and I take it seriously, and their well-being is first and foremost for me, certainly.
Yeah, and Brandon, when you first came into this, obviously, you bought this from someone. You bought this from Robert Bigelow. You mentioned Robert Bigelow, the billionaire aerospace entrepreneur. He spent over 2 decades or about 2 decades investigating the property. He even partnered with the federal government, didn't he? Can you tell us here what, if anything, Mr. Bigelow shared with you about what to expect, and what did he have any questions for you, like, or warnings to you, or did he just want to unload this scary property to a very willing buyer? What can you tell us about those conversations?
Yeah, a lot of really good questions. I mean, I I told Mr. Bigelow to begin with that I was a skeptic and was approaching this opportunity as a healthy skeptic, and one that had never seen a UFO, a ghost, an orb, or anything that I guess you would associate with the paranormal, and that I would be bringing, my own team and scientific rigor to the table if I was to acquire the property and advance this. Mr. Bigelow and his advisors did disclose to me back in 2016 that this property had been the center of gravity for a Pentagon funded black budget program that ran for 5 years, tens of millions of dollars that at least has been disclosed publicly, was dedicated to that effort, and dozens of very high level scientists, military operatives, and officials were involved with that investigation during that time, and that the results of that period of time would have to remain classified and confidential, and I would be buying the property as is. At first, I was a little troubled by that, to be honest. I felt like if I was buying the property, I should be privy to all of those details, but I quickly changed my view, and I thought, there is something to be said for bringing a fresh set of eyes, a brand new perspective to the property, and literally opening a new chapter with a new team to really either prove that there's something truly happening that merits consideration or debunk it. And I felt that there was a 95% chance that we would be able to really find a natural prosaic explanation for all of the phenomena that have been reported for decades, if not millennia. And of course, as reported on the series and in various interviews, I've been shocked to find that the opposite is true. I mean, the ranch, as beautiful and striking a landscape as it is a very dangerous, haunting place. And bad things happen there. We're dealing with forces that we don't understand. And people, including Thomas Winterton, have unfortunately sustained injuries that remain to this day unexplained. I mean, right. You know this, Joe. I mean, even members of your own crew, upon coming on the property and beginning filming the team on a day-to-day basis, ended up in the hospital or having negative experiences or injuries that were unfortunate and are, I think, part of the risk associated with engaging on this very unique piece of property.
Yeah, it's hard to comprehend just what is to be dealt with and how to approach it. Travis, you are a scientist. You've got extensive experience working with NASA. You've got extensive experience working with the Department of Defense. You've got a high security clearance. What can you tell us about what you knew of Skinwalker Ranch coming in? I know when you were brought in to join this team, you certainly probably had some preconceived notions of what you were going to experience, but what's your take coming from sort of a kind of a government position, or at least privy to government intelligence on these kinds of things? What was your experience coming in?
Well, I really didn't know any of the details of the ranch that weren't open to anybody else. I mean, I read all the books and saw the YouTube channel, videos about it and all that kind of stuff. And after reading Kelleher and Knapp's book, I thought, man, somebody is on some hallucinogenic drugs, or there's some kind of toxic chemicals loose out there, or somebody's perpetrating the biggest hoax, that I'd ever seen. And I even told these guys that it's really hard pill to swallow. It's hard to believe that stuff, that that it's hard to believe what we're saying right now. I mean, what you guys are saying. And the first day I went out there, I mean, within what, 30 minutes after we were sitting around the table talking, suddenly we're detecting microwave signals that were not supposed to be there. And I mean, like instantly, just like Eric said a few minutes ago, on his very first day, weird stuff happened. Well, the very first day, I mean, I had not been on the ranch 30 minutes and weird stuff started happening. And since then, so much weird stuff has happened that, I'm just as crazy as the rest of them.
No, that's right. You go from skeptic to a witness trying to compel everybody else to finally believe in it. And I mean, we saw you guys over the course of those 8 episodes of season 1 experience just instance after instance of different kind of phenomena, from radiation spikes or different kinds of electromagnetic spikes to different physiology issues. Thomas, you had something that occurred at night when you guys were shining lasers at the Mesa. Travis, you had an incident at Homestead 2 where you opened up a well and got woozy. I mean, as a team, and I'd love for you guys to each, give just a little general debrief to our panel, like to our audience. What was it like in that first year working together? And do you think that the fact that you guys were trying to investigate, poke the nest is a term that's kind of come to be used a lot. How were you experiencing the ranch, and how do you think the ranch was interacting with you? And I'd love to hear from you first, Tom.
Well, I'll never forget Travis looking at me and saying, "You speak of this ranch like it's a person. It's just a piece of ground." And, I remember smiling and just thinking, you just wait. And, the ranch does seem to react when we bring new people on. And for whatever reason, the ranch has especially reacted to Travis, as you've seen in season 1. It appears like he was targeted with all the people that are around. And, but I have to say, I was surprised to the level that things happened. I mean, things are always happening out here, but I feel like the ranch really opened up and kind of kicked back, if you will. So I was both pleased and also kind of wary that we were seeing so many activities while we were here filming season 1.
Right. And Eric, I mean, you're a guy who, I've been out there on the ranch with you and seen how you operate. You're such a data analyzer, and you love data. You take it in like people take in water. It's like you thirst for it. And so you're always looking at your cameras, your surveillance cameras that are around the ranch. Did you find it overwhelming with the amount of phenomena that you had to keep track of and try to unpack and figure out with Travis and the other guys as you guys were witnessing things? What was the experience during season 1 like for you?
Sure. I doubt that anyone will disagree if I confess to having been pretty uptight, pretty nervous during that first season, because we're introducing a lot of people, we're introducing a lot of technology. Just the mechanics of doing our documentary work changes a lot of the variables. It raises the noise floor, of course. But then as the events unfolded, I saw that it just went from strange to more strange to stranger yet. And, I have to say, even today, every time I go back onto that property, I'm a little apprehensive about what may happen.
Yeah, and Dragon, I mean, you went in there with your close friends that you had been working with already and had to protect, and then all of a sudden you got in Travis, you got to protect a new guy, and Thomas said he feels like the activity got spurned up by this little hornet in the nest. What was your take on the evolution of experiences in season 1?
It was interesting. There's no doubt. I mean, I think the evolution of the crew and of us, our team, was a lot of what I saw was most interesting. We had the mindset of there ain't nothing going on out there to, we can do whatever. And, the ranch has a way of biting back a little bit and putting you in your place if you get too arrogant. I think all of us have experienced that at some point to some extent. And so, yeah, I mean, obviously we're a tight knit group. And then when you invite somebody else in, you don't know how that's going to work out. You don't know what's going to happen. Certainly things were stimulated and we had some experiences that we don't know why they happened or what. And it's interesting because the ranch does react to individuals differently. I myself have really not experienced a whole lot. I've never so much as caught a cold on the ranch or anything like that. Whereas, other individuals seem to, have all sorts of issues, whether it be, getting sick, feeling strange, feeling swimmy headed, if you will, things like that. And so, yeah, it was definitely interesting, and my eyes were open to things that previously I hadn't seen. And I think it's because we were, as Travis likes to say, poking the hornet's nest a little bit. And I think the cavalier going into it of we're just going to do whatever has kind of been, pushed back just a little bit because I think everyone does realize that there are some ramifications to your actions on the ranch, certainly.
Right. And Travis, I mean, just to get a little bit specific about what you guys experienced, I mean, it ran the gamut really with different kinds of things that you guys could detect with different sort of measuring tools. But when you see unidentified aerial phenomena, and you've got a ranch that's got all this lore about cattle mutilations that seem surgically precise, and there's this alien connotation given with it. You guys see UFOs, and then toward the end of the season, you guys are dealing with a cow that suddenly just drops dead. And then you guys get surveillance footage of a UFO. Take us as a scientist, what was your interpretation of what you were dealing with, and what do you think of that event? A simultaneous UFO captured in footage when a young cow dies, and could you guys have interrupted something?
Oh, well, whether we interrupted it or just had front row seats to it is to be debated. I suspect that if the ranch wants to do something, then we're just going to be spectators. We've yet to figure out a way to corral it. We're just now, I think, all of us admitting to ourselves that it's something more than what we wanted to admit that it might be. and as Thomas said, the very first time we talked, and I told these guys, you guys act like the place is a living creature or it's alive or whatever. And the experience that I've got, it seems to react from stimulus in a way that suggests life or a living or entity or some sort of reaction algorithm, right? Which is not what typically happens when you poke the ground with something. The ground is just the ground. Mm-hmm. And so then seeing things progress from making measurements of electromagnetic signals that shouldn't be there last year, then going to seeing things like we would see the occasional, maybe something in the sky that we weren't sure what it was, maybe hear some weird noises. And then suddenly, after a couple of experiments, we see some things appear in the sky, and then we have a cow die on us, and around the cow, we detect strange electromagnetic signals. And then we go back and look at the video camera footage that Eric finds. And at the instant the cow is dying, something appears overhead over the cow, and we capture it on video. And our instruments registered, microwave anomalies at the time and things like that. So we've got multiple instruments, multiple witnesses, multiple events that you can't just explain away or debunk, so to speak. I don't know what they are, but they certainly are not anything like I was expecting to see when I got there.
That's right, Travis. It wasn't just one incident. It was all kinds of incidents that continued to just happen again and again and again across the entire season. And for those of you who saw it, you know exactly what he's talking about. And for those of you who may have missed it, here now is just a glimpse of the experiences these guys had during season 1 of The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch.
The legend is that things happen on this ranch.
Yeah, that's spiking.
That could be dangerous.
It's coming from up there.
The signal was coming from the sky.
What is that?
Did you guys see that?
Flew out from behind the mesa. Boom.
There it is.
There it is again.
Whoa, that's a definite beam.
The moment that object appeared, the cow reacted.
We're dealing with some kind of intelligence that has the ability to paralyze. It felt like someone was knocking from under the floor.
What is that?
Is that a fragmented bone?
Could be human remains. We have something active beneath this property.
It stinks in here. I don't want to stand here very long.
We were just exposed to ionizing radiation.
My head is killing me.
This is serious. I think it's time to go to the hospital.
I wanted to get out here as soon as I could. Who or what could we be dealing with?
There's something of significant size down there.
Is it saucer shaped?
Yes. Let's geek it up.
Look at that. What is that?
Why is that rocking like that?
Oh! What we saw tonight was real.
It was an incredible season, and everything you guys experimented with and accomplished. And Eric, I want to go to you off of that. And for our audience, what can they expect during season 2 in terms of the new kinds of technology, the new kinds of experiments? Can they expect to see a lot more? And if so, can you explain what the takeaway is from the things that they are going to see?
Yeah, the research in season 2 gets a lot of its focus from events that are shown during the first season. Of course, there's a lot of follow-up. Really, I guess I would break that into 3 pieces. A portion of our work was dedicated to exploring what might be happening in the soil or beneath the ground on the ranch. We saw some of that in season 1. And not to spoil anything, but this does involve some exploratory activities in the ground. Of course, the second part is giving more attention to what's happening in the sky immediately above the ranch. We're talking about both visible and invisible sources of return signals, some of them fleeting, some of them more persistent and even moving. And really a very interesting third part of what we have focused on in this second season is exploring the narrative that we inherited with the property by inviting people with previous extensive and personal experience with the property to come back on site. I learned a lot from that.
Yeah, and Thomas, I'll go to you as someone who has had such visceral experiences and physical experiences on the ranch. I won't mention who, but I know that a member of a family that you guys have been trying to make contact with was good enough to come out and share his experiences of what was going on. What was it like for you to sit there with someone who's telling you emphatically and passionately about seeing things and being almost confronted by things and seeing animals being attacked? What was that like for you? And did you see things this year that might corroborate those testimonies?
It was probably one of the highlights of season 2 for me. We've inherited so many stories, and it's been frustrating trying to track down firsthand sources that actually witnessed these things. And so, to be able to have somebody who's had an interest, or who's been there, and to hear stories, I have to say that there were things that were shared that he'd only know if he'd experienced. And I came away from that experience feeling validated in many areas. Maybe I felt a little less crazy at the end of the day. And it was nice to get to the bottom of some of these stories and find out, from their point of view, what took place. And, I'll say season 1 was a lot of fun. I had an absolute blast filming with these guys. And season 2 was so intense. The things that we experienced, I remember sitting in the command center after the cameras had gone down for the day, sitting here with the guys. And I'll tell you, I was tempted to get in the car and leave and never come back. Season 2 kicked my butt, and it was intense.
And Dragon, what do you have to say about that kind of stuff? I mean, this is what I'm sure keeps you up at night if it's not Skinwalkers directly. How was season 2 for you in terms of an exercise in trying to protect people and up the safety ante, if you will?
Well, it was a challenge. Obviously, as whenever you ramp up the level of experimentation, it seems that it it lends itself to more risk and to more danger. And, as we got more intense with things, then, things did happen. And I'll echo what Thomas said in the fact that, it's exhausting going through that and experiencing all of that. And then to have somewhat of the mantle placed on you to look out for everybody else too, it weighs a little bit heavy. People don't understand that everything that happens on the ranch is just it's all about energy. I mean, you'll see cell phones drained. You'll see, energy spikes here and there. Well, it does the same thing to you as a person. You get to the point where it just sucks all of the energy right out of you and you're just so drained. I mean, there's times where it was like, I don't even know, why we should be here because it was so draining and taxing. It seemed to intensify this year over the previous year by quite a bit in that regard. And it took a toll on all of us. And you find yourself becoming irritable and everything else. And then, we don't know why. And that's the frustrating part. But yeah, in answer to your question, definitely it was, my nerves were on edge and I probably blew up a few times. I know that's hard to believe, but it's known to happen on occasion. But yeah, it definitely intensified with everything that we did this go around for certainly.
It's an incredible story with just the backdrop of what you're dealing with, but it's really a human story and seeing how people try to go about as a team dealing with these kinds of investigations, this kind of phenomena that cannot be understood by conventional means. And Travis, I know that you come at everything with a very science-focused agenda. Be a skeptic until you can't be a skeptic, right? And I know that without, again, giving away any names or spoilers, a former member of the military with past experience on the ranch does meet with you guys this year. It's kind of a surprise. It's a real big bonus. But talk about bringing someone into the fold or having someone agree to come into the fold with that kind of a background, not only ex-military, but having investigated the ranch himself, and tease the kind of experiment that led to for you in terms of taking this to another level of what could you be dealing with on Skinwalker Ranch?
Yeah, well, so not to go into too great a detail about the guests that you're talking about. We had a bunch of guests. Actually, people are going to be amazed at the guest investigators, researchers, enthusiasts, experts, whatever that we had out there to help this past summer. And one of the things that everybody had read all the books and heard all the stories about portals and doorways to other dimensions and all these things, about the ranch. And we did some experiments this year that are maybe getting us a little closer to not necessarily understanding it, but at least maybe capturing the phenomena on instruments. And I will tell you that up till now, like Bigelow's team and all those guys, they always said that you try something, they couldn't get anything to be repeatable. They do something that would change the next time or whatever. Well, we actually made some extreme points this past summer to try and replicate things more than once. And we actually, I think for the first time, got the ranch to do kind of the same thing twice. Not exactly the same thing twice, but kind of. And so maybe we're going in the right direction. Maybe all these people, offering advice, advice is great because you don't have to take it if you don't want to, but it might open up a door or make you have a eureka moment and think of something. And I'll tell you, just to kind of add what these guys were just saying, I remember that day that Thomas was talking about, and it's really weird because when we sat down, the four of us, and then Caleb, a lot of times we would sit at the table in the command room after everybody's gone. We're the only ones there, overnight, except for Tom and Candace next door, and we sat down, and Thomas starts saying that's the way he felt, and I shake my head and said, man, when I got out of bed this morning, I actually got up and was going to get in the Jeep and drive away and not come back. And that's what I told this guy. I said, I had to fight. I mean, I know there's people here working, and if we leave, it's going to mess things up. And I said, but that's how I felt this morning too. And it was odd that we both had the same thought on the same day. And these things might be clues to what the heck it is that's going on out there. But a clue to what, we just don't know. Like Dragon says, it's just draining us somehow. And I think it's because our bodies are better instruments than the instruments that we're using.
Brandon, do you feel like in season 2, the team accomplished what you, did it meet expectations? Did it exceed expectations? And what's your mindset going forward from here?
It definitely exceeded expectations. I have to applaud the efforts of the team. This will sound cheesy, but I have to applaud their courage. I mean, this isn't for the faint of heart to come back to a place that is known to have impacted people in a negative way, and to have the courage to proceed with some really aggressive experiments in order to get to the bottom of what is happening. I think that speaks to the character and the type of people that our team members are. I think we continue to be surprised, and we continue to bring new technology platforms to the table in service to finding out what is happening on this property, both above, below, and on the surface. So we're very excited as this advances.
Great. And just to lighten things up and whet the appetite a little bit more before we head into our Q&A section of the panel. And thank you guys so much for your candor and for allowing us to film what you do, because it's nerve-wracking for all of us because no one knows what's going to happen, and we're always sitting here back in Los Angeles wondering if this is going to become a found footage documentary program.
And Joe, not to interject, but
yeah,
no one on our team had any television experience. Not one person, with the exception of Dr. Taylor,
right,
who was brought on as really a guest to begin with, had ever been on television or had any experience. So, I mean, this has been a really unique and somewhat stressful experience for everyone trying to acclimate to this new world of being part of a series and filming. So,
well, I just want to ask you guys, and answers are yes, no, or stay tuned. Just one word answers if you wouldn't mind. Thomas, are we going to see evidence of possible creatures in season 2 of The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch?
Stay tuned.
Travis, are we going to see you guys experiencing possible confrontations with mysterious entities in season 2 of The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch?
Stay tuned, man.
Eric, are we going to see more aerial phenomena in season 2 of The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch?
You're on mute.
Sorry for that, guys. The answer is yes.
And Brandon, people talk about, as Travis mentioned earlier, that there could be portal phenomena associated with the phenomena with the different kinds of mysteries on Skinwalker Ranch. Is there going to be compelling evidence, perhaps captured and documented, of portal phenomena in season 2 of The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch?
Hell yes.
And Travis, one more question for you.
I don't get a question, Joe. Thanks a lot, man. No, I'm just kidding.
He just wants to piss you off, Dragon.
Yeah.
Dragon, are you going to
the answer is yes.
Dragon, are you going to have a really good belly laugh in season 2 of The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch?
You know me? No. I stay tuned.
Travis, are we going to find possible answers deep below the ranch in season 2?
I don't know. That's not the answer you wanted, but I don't know.
Well, it's going to be a phenomenal season, everybody out there. And May 4th is when you get to start seeing what these guys did and experienced. And just to whet your appetite, right here, right now, we're going to run a special sneak peek of what is going to be seen on these 10 episodes. We hope you enjoy it. We thank you for joining our panel. And here it is, a sneak peek at season 2.
There's still a lot of weird things about the ranch that we can't explain.
I do sense a presence here.
I get visitors, alien activity.
You can see the mesa glow in that camera. Unreal. When you walked inside the building, it didn't take any data.
The temperature around the homestead began to drop.
During launch, the electromagnetic spectrum is going crazy, guys. Hey, look, the cows. Something's got the cows going nuts.
Thomas has spotted a light.
Hey, right here. What do you think it is?
It is a portal.
Holy, we got something.
I'm leaving the ranch. I'm getting a bad headache.
Are you serious?
What I saw doesn't belong here. I'm a little nervous. Hold on.
Hey,
We're engaging the phenomena. The question is, are you willing to all accept the risks?
So something could be under us?
What the hell's under us? I don't get it.
It's staying with us the
It's
whole
following
time.
us.
Crazy things happen on Skinwalker Ranch.
May 4th, 10 p.m., everybody. And I'm going to go right into our questions. And I'm going to give this one to you, Brandon, as the owner. There's a lot of disclosure that's being kind of leaked out through the press about what our government may or may not know about UFO phenomena, otherworldly life. Do you anticipate Skinwalker Ranch to be mentioned in the upcoming report from U.S. intelligence agencies to reveal what they know about UFOs to Congress?
Sorry, unmuting. Good question. I think it's likely. I think Skinwalker Ranch has played a role in the government's investigation. It's obvious. I mean, it came out. The New York Times broke the story back in 2017 relative to Skinwalker Ranch being the center of gravity for a Pentagon-funded investigation. And I think no matter what, we're bringing private sector ingenuity and I think resources to the table in an effort to bring this forward to the public. So I think the ranch plays a key role, and for whatever reason, it seems to be this unique center of gravity for strange phenomena, including the UFO phenomena. And I think that's something we'll continue to monitor.
Mm-hmm. And here's a question for you, Dragon. Folks want to know about, in season 1, it was mentioned that there was this large 1,000-foot-long disc-shaped anomaly found under Homestead 2, a very notorious place on the ranch where a lot of phenomena happens. What can you tell our audience about investigations at Homestead 2 to follow up on what may or may not be underneath it? Are we going to see some exciting things about what might be beneath Homestead 2?
We definitely have ramped up the investigation of that area along with others without giving too much away. We'll definitely revisit that with all sorts of experimentation and maybe come up with some ideas with what might be going on over there.
And Eric, here's a question for you. Have you ever considered or sampled environmental DNA after a sighting or an experience with phenomena, checking to see if there's any kind of weird DNA from some kind of animal that may or may not be identifiable? And if not, would you consider such a thing moving forward?
Well, that goes a little outside of my expertise. I'm a physicist and not a biologist, but I know that samples have been collected. Going back to that cow that suddenly died during season 1. Interesting findings coming out of that, but I absolutely would keep that on the table. I think given the fact that there are medically relevant events that take place, given the fact that the biological component is very much part of the story, I think looking at effects on our, even at the cellular level, might be the way to go.
Hey, I want to add to that. We actually talked about this at the beginning of last year. There's this company that is doing this for the National Forestry Service, where they go to the low point and they test in the watershed, and it tells them all the animals in the area, and that's how they're mapping all the animals. And we talked about trying to get them out there to do that to the ranch and see if there's any unusual DNA right in the area. We just, we had 400,000 things happening at once. And that's just one of the things that didn't quite make it.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Here's a question for you, Dragon. Has security been an issue since the filming ended?
Oh, 100-fold. The amount of visitors that show up to the property daily has increased exponentially. It definitely has become a lot more cumbersome. It requires much more monitoring and, reaching out. And fortunately, I have Caleb, who's a local sheriff's deputy that has been, invaluable when it comes to helping us out in that regard. And Thomas too. I mean, Thomas has chased off about as many people as you can imagine. So yes, in answer to that, it certainly has increased. I understand. And some people, they're just curious. They'll come and take a peek. Others a little bit less respectful, but yeah, it's definitely become a lot more of an issue.
And Travis, we saw you guys in season 1 launch smallish rockets up into the air. I don't know if it triggered, but it seemed to be very, very soon before all of a sudden some kind of aerial phenomena appeared. Can we expect to see more rocketry used? And if so, how would these be different? And what would be different about the goal?
Yeah, well, we keep measuring the strange electromagnetic phenomena that seems to be somewhere about a mile above the ranch. And we can't really get instruments to stay in that spot for a long period of time for whatever reason. And so we went with bigger, better rockets, more stable, more likely to make it to where we want to go, and even had some that would go above it and fall back through it. And that's a repeat experiment from last year, but stepped up a bit. And we had similar results this year as we had last year, where we had unusual phenomena occur during the time we're doing the experiment. So, you just have to stay tuned to see what. But, these guys were right there with some of the guys that had come on to help us with the rockets, and they saw firsthand, things happening that we weren't expecting.
And Brandon, the world's obviously seeing your findings as they're happening through the broadcast of this program that follows what you guys do out there. But with regard to Mr. Bigelow and the 20 years of investigations they did, and as Travis mentioned before in the book that was written by Colm Kelleher, that described all kinds of wild phenomena and experiences, do you think the findings of their investigation will ever fully be disclosed, or will they be disclosed hopefully through your work?
I don't think they'll ever be fully disclosed, and I don't really care, to be honest. I think we've advanced far beyond what they were able to accomplish. Not to sound arrogant, but we've brought to bear far more resources, and I think a true multidisciplinary team that is seeing some amazing results and data being documented. So, no offense or disrespect to those brave individuals who have worked on the ranch before, and I have great respect for Mr. Bigelow and his courage and really putting his money where his mouth is. There are very few people in business that are recognized business leaders have the courage to come forward with these types of topics. But I'm not really concerned so much about what is happening in the past, when we really right in front of us are seeing such compelling data and experiences.
And Thomas, again, mentioning the fact that you once had a really serious medical episode after digging on the ranch, will we be seeing you guys doing a lot more disturbing of the earth in season 2? And if so, will it be possibly correlated with any kind of phenomena?
Yeah, well, one of the guys mentioned earlier, a lot of the season 2 experiments are following up on things that we did in season 1. And our investigation really led us all directions, both above and below. So I think the audience can expect to see us go further than we did in season 1. And like I say, season 2 is intense. There are a lot of things that happen. So I guess the audience can watch and see if they see a correlation between the two.
And Dragon, what's your take these days on the notion of digging and that kind of activity on the ranch?
Look, at the end of the day, I take orders from the guy in the nice office in the blue suit. And, he wanted us to, in the beginning, tread lightly, and has given us a little bit more, license to do more investigation, whether that be below the ground or whatever. I still, am not an individual that is looking to, stir up trouble or cause harm to these guys. Obviously, I'm invested in this investigation just like they are. I'm not there just to be the heavy. I want to find out what's going on just as much as they do. But with that, we've seen that certain things happen, and I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're part of this team. I don't care if you're someone I see on the street. If I see someone in danger, I'm going to try and mitigate that as best I can. So, do I want to know what's going on? Do I want to make sure that everybody's safe and taken care of? Yes, but at the end of the day, it definitely weighs heavy, but we're here to do it and take care of each other.
Hey, and I can testify to that too. I mean, he really is looking out for everybody. I mean, there was one instant back in the summer where something was going on, and it was affecting me to the point where he was pretty much at the point of grabbing me and dragging me, screaming and kicking off the ranch, just to make sure I was safe, right? So he's got the hardest job of all of us.
Yeah, and spoiler alert for the audience out there, he has this really tough facade, but Dragon is one of the biggest sweethearts that you could ever meet, one of the nicest guys. And
he's not nice.
Unless you try to get on Brandon Fugel's property, y'all.
Yeah, he's not nice. He has a quick temper, and people just don't want to come across that.
I love that. I love that piece of security footage you shared with us earlier, where he's just coming to work and he encounters an individual. That was a very, to your point, Brandon, a very illustrative moment of how seriously Bryant takes his job and how he gets the moniker Dragon.
That's one of the things I love about Dragon is he's not afraid to get physical if he has to. So,
well, unfortunately, sometimes you got to do what you got to do, but it's all in the greater good of safety for those of you on the team and people that don't belong there. Here's a question for you, Travis. As people who watch the show are probably aware, you basically embed yourself there week in, week out. You stay the night on the ranch in a trailer. While there, have you experienced any vivid or lucid dreams? And if so, can you tell the audience a little bit about what you might have experienced?
Yeah, you'll see that in some detail actually this season, because it becomes a factor a few times in my own dang sanity. But I tell people a lot when I'm at home, I don't have nightmares or anything like that, and I sleep fine, or I'm creative. I get up and do work. When I'm there, for some reason, I can't write. I'm not being creative on things that it would normally be if I was at home not sleeping. And when I do sleep, I have night terrors, and probably 2 out of the 4 nights that I'm asleep there, I wake up screaming in the middle of the night. And I don't know why. We don't know, what's causing it. Is it something about the ranch? Is it the microwaves out there affecting REM sleep? We don't know, but it does affect me, and it does make me have weird dreams. And I had a couple of times some dreams that become prevalent in the experiments that we're doing. So stay tuned, and you'll get to see them maybe. I don't know. We haven't seen all the episodes either, so I don't know.
You know, I know that the ranch has a resident canine, William, but one of our audience members wants to know, has anyone ever brought their dog on the property? And if so, did they react at all differently in any way that seemed to trigger any kind of sensory on their part?
Well, I can tell you that William responds to different moods very prevalently. And he'll a lot of times either sleep under my trailer or sleep at the foot of the trailer under Dragon's bed. And you'll hear him when something doesn't feel right. He's like our early warning system. He seems to smell it or know it or something.
I bring my dogs on with me regularly. Matter of fact, I had my dogs with me today on the ranch. It's interesting. Just yesterday, you know, I came to feed William, and he ran into command center, did not want to go out, and I tried to get him out. He was whimpering and fighting for all he's worth. I finally got him outside, and he took off down the road and ran clear to the edge of the property, which is so unlike William. And so I loaded him back up in the vehicle and brought him up here so I could feed him. And the second he got out of the vehicle, he ran, and he didn't want to be anywhere around here, which made me nervous. But I watched the dogs really close, and I bring my own dogs on quite regularly just because you know, I have a sense of security with them.
Wow. Here's a question from someone. They want to know, has there been anything that's been found to date that was too alarming to put on the TV show? And I'll take this one. I would say no. I mean, the disturbing stuff, the mysterious stuff, and just the really compelling stuff, we edit it together and offer it up. So expect to see everything.
Yeah, you're right during filming, but I think we've had, when cameras haven't been there or when we're not filming, we've had a number of incidents, I think you're aware of, Joe, that disturbing things that have happened that frankly we just don't have a place or a forum yet to present.
Well, and I'll add to that too. I've had things happen out here that I wouldn't share publicly just because, you know, like Eric was telling me yesterday, if you don't have it on camera, it didn't happen really. And there's things that happen out here I wouldn't tell anybody because they wouldn't believe me anyways. And it robs you of your sanity. So there are some things that I just don't talk about.
I think we would all say exactly the same thing, Thomas. I mean, we've all been there, and when the cameras aren't on, or we see something and the cameras don't see it. I mean, it's just too bizarre to explain.
Travis, what do you think the likelihood is that what is being dealt with on Skinwalker Ranch has something to do with extraterrestrial life?
Well, I would say it's at least something that we haven't discovered yet, whether it's extraterrestrial or whatever. You know, I don't know. It's something. It's some new phenomenology, whether it's from Earth, not from Earth, from this universe, not from this universe. I can't say because we don't have evidence to point us in that direction. But what we do have is phenomena occurring that nobody has ever experimentally and scientifically verified, validated, and documented before. And that's what we are doing. This is a real phenomenon. The question is, what is it and where is it coming from? I don't know the answer to that. I hope we find out.
And one last question to you, Eric. And I mean, it's hard to define a smoking gun, what exactly that is, but can the audience expect to see absolutely undeniable phenomena that cannot be explained by conventional means during season 2 of The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch?
You know, I hesitate to use that kind of terminology, absolutely undeniable, but I'll tell you this, there are some very compelling correlations. We were just talking about something a moment ago, and I want to come back to it that may address your question. There are those rare instances when we have both a subjective experience, something physiological or perhaps neurological, and we also have our instruments going off at the same time. We've had those occurrences, and they actually did take place during our filming last summer. that kind of thing really gets my attention.
And Brandon, I'd love to know, just in terms of final thoughts, do you expect the audience to be able to see possible evidence of interdimensional portals on your property during the second season of The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think be prepared to see what may be, I think, some of the most compelling, if not only scientific evidence of that type of phenomena. Am I speaking out of turn, Eric? I won't say anything more, but Eric, is that an accurate statement from someone like me?
Some statements that I can't make that you can make, Brandon.
Yeah.
Well,
but if you were me, Eric, would you feel comfortable in my position as not a scientist, but as an observer, that what we have documented and may be presenting as some of the most compelling evidence on record of that type of phenomena?
I've used the same term, compelling, and I think that's the best way to put it.
The one word I would add to it though is repeatable, because we did it more than once and it's repeatable. And that to me means a lot when it comes to the scientific method.
Amen. Good point, Travis. And that's what we're seeing. You're right.
Well, I want to thank you guys for taking the time tonight to speak with me and speak with everyone out there to set up what is going to be another historic season of this great series, The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, May 4th, 10 p.m. Thank you all for joining us today. And just want to mention, please don't forget to tune in for the launch of this wonderful show, May 4th, 10 p.m. If you're enjoying these events, make sure you have signed up for the AlienCon newsletter on the AlienCon website or follow us on social media. And make sure to join us for our next event, which is going to be on Thursday, May 6th, for a discussion centered around alien engineering with Giorgio Tsoukalos, David Childress, Hugh Newman, and once again, Dr. Travis Taylor will be there as well. Register on AlienCon Facebook page or on the website. We'll see you soon. Be safe, everybody, and have a great evening. Thank you.